In terms of affirmations, and again, this is hard to think about as you're starting out, but really just saying, like, I'm confident in who I am. This couple chose me for a reason.
Oh, I love that one. Yeah.
No one else could document this day like I could because I am myself.
Yeah.
Right? So no one will see what I see because I am myself. So I think it's really just, it's not comparing yourself to other photographers or other experience, but it's knowing in that moment to just say, okay, I'm making this decision and I'm trusting in my gut that I'm doing that's what's best for the couple and then what's best for myself.
When I first started my wedding photography business back in 2011, I made just $5,000 in my business. Now, I bring in multiple six figures per year while working only 30-hour weeks serving my dream couples. I'm here to help you discover that it's so possible to have what you want when you want in your business so that you can create the life you've always dreamed of and deserve. Hi, Lydia. I'm so excited to have you on the podcast.
Hi, Sarah. How are you? I'm so
amazing.
I am beyond excited. You can probably tell I'm a little bit nervous. So.
Oh, that was literally the best. I love that so much. I thought you were like frozen for a second. I'm like, oh no, she can hear me.
I thought we were going right into it. I'm like, okay, do I say something? Here we are.
That's awesome. Oh my gosh. Well, we are going right into the little icebreaker that we talked about that I'm so excited about. And then we will dive into for the listeners to get to know you a little bit and then dive into the top 3 tips for intuitively connecting with your couples, which I'm so excited about to like nerd about with you today. Okay, so let's do the icebreaker. Okay, so basically, I'm going to say like a bunch of words. And then as soon as I say a word, you have to say a word back, like not overthinking it. First word that comes to mind. And I have about 6 or 7 words here. Are you ready?
Okay. I won't leave that awkward gap in between. I'll answer right away. Okay.
Or that could just be part of your brand. That could just be like a new thing.
Yeah. Right? And pause.
Yeah.
And she's here. Okay.
Awesome. Okay. Ready? First word.
Go for it.
Poop.
Dog.
That's good. Sweater.
Yeah. Vest.
Okay. Notebook.
Oh, Rachel McAdams.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
I should have said Ryan Gosling, but Rachel McAdams. Okay.
Both of them are very good looking, so both very, very much count.
Yeah.
Clock.
Tick. Oh, gross, because I just had a tick inside of me. Oh gosh, that's clearly.
Did you say tick as in like TikTok? With clock?
Yeah, tick-tock on a clock. But then I also just had a traumatic incident with having a tick in my neck, which we can maybe get to.
I saw that on your story. So yeah, I want to hear about that. Wait, tell me about it now.
Okay, so basically, really quickly, I was doing a photo shoot and at a stone ruin. So. And in March, why would I expect there to be ticks, right?
Yeah.
And I think I hopped into a bush for a hot second to frame a photo. And then I'm assuming this is when the tick got onto me and then crawled up into my neck and started to bury itself inside of me. And I didn't notice until I was going to bed. And then I was like, oh, what's that? What's that? Looking in the mirror and then pulled it out.
Oh
not
my
knowing.
God.
Dropped it immediately, called my sister in utter panic. It was like, what do I do? What do I do? So now the story unfolds of Lydia and her tick named Ted.
Oh,
I've named him.
Ted. Oh my God. Ted is passed, right? He has passed?
Ted has passed. He's actually sitting in some rubbing alcohol and has been for a few days.
Oh my gosh. And like, okay, I don't know if I've ever had a tick. I don't think so. but
You
does
would
it
know.
go underneath your skin or no, it's on the outside?
No, its head buries into you,
Yeah.
okay? And then the body stays outside. So then it eats
Oh,
your blood and then injects the disease or whatever
yeah,
into
if they have
you
it. Yeah, yeah.
if they have it. And then they just start to swell up or engorge
Oh
with
man.
blood.
Are you still trying to figure out if you're okay, basically? Like,
Well, I took the antibiotics
okay, okay.
regardless because it was in the 72-hour window, which I'm just doing what my doctor's telling me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got to
Annoying.
send Ted to a lab to get tested.
Oh my God. Well, I'm sending all the positive vibes your way. That all is good. There's
Thank
my
you. Me
witchy
too.
magic fingers.
Ugh, and it on your neck is the worst.
Oh, I can. And then you just like being like, oh, it must be like just something stuck to me. And then it's like this like horror looking thing. Oh my God. I can't even imagine.
Creepy crawly.
Isn't it funny how our brains work? I said clock and you said tick, but then you're like, did that come from my subconscious mind since I've been dealing with a tick, or what did it actually mean TikTok?
Something's going on in my brain
Yeah.
this week, I think. And it's not
Okay.
because of the tick.
And I
Okay,
love the
the last one.
story. I love the story that went along with that. That was awesome. That was very entertaining. Thank you. But I mean, I'm
Terrible,
sorry
but
that you have gone.
traumatizing,
Yeah.
but we're here.
Yeah. Okay. 2 more words.
Okay.
Blimp.
Oh, flying.
Yeah, pretty much, right? Like, what else are you gonna say? I just think
Yeah.
that's the
Okay.
funniest word, like blimp. Like, whoever even says that word, it's so funny.
I haven't heard that in a long time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And
That's a good one.
lastly, photography.
Okay. Love.
Cute. Very cute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Awesome. So
Aw,
that
she got mushy.
so that's the perfect segue into no, I'm joking. Into what we're talking about today. But yeah, I would love for the listeners to get to know you a little bit more quickly. So tell them, I mean, where you're from, number one, what kind of photography you love focusing on, and a little bit about you with like your interests in life overall and hobbies outside of photography.
Awesome. Okay, so Lydia Ivy. I'm from Guelph, Ontario, which is a real place. When I tell people who live in the US or something, they're like, I didn't know a place called Guelph exists. Apparently, in the olden times, we were called Guelphites. I didn't know that.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah, from Guelph. So, about 45 an hour away from Toronto. And I specialize now in weddings and elopements. I started out shooting like content photography for businesses in the area to kind of connect and build a network,
Mhm.
and then moved into family photography, and then quickly into weddings because I love the high stakes and the high pressure situations.
I love that. I feel you on that. And what
Yeah.
are some like random interests that you have in life that get you excited?
I love to knit. I'm
Oh,
an avid knitter. I also love to walk my dog, Asha, and just spend time with her. She's the greatest thing. She's a chocolate lab.
oh,
She's 7.5 years old. And her name actually means hope in Hindi. So
that's
it's very
beautiful.
special to me. And what else do I love doing? I love being outside and just being in nature and going on hikes. And yeah, I
Awesome.
think that's my jam. That's my
Yeah,
jam.
that's my jam. I love that. Awesome. Well, I'm so excited to get into the tips that you have for everyone. And I'm excited to learn too. I'm always learning. I think every human is just always learning, right? So yeah, let us know. I mean, so again, everyone tuning in, Lydia is going to talk about her top 3 tips for intuitively connecting with your couples. And I think this is something that is rarely talked about because I know posing has a little bit more, I guess, traction in the industry and is more talked about, which is very understandable. There's like so much to learn around that, and not even just posing, but posing prompts. You know, how to create moments with couples and all of that. But this conversation is kind of around that, but it also will have to do with how do we know if we should say this prompt, or how are our couples feeling right in front of us right now? How can we be a little bit more emotionally intelligent to know what they need in that moment from us? So yeah, I'm so excited to have this conversation. So Lydia, let us know what your top 3 tips are here.
Amazing. So I honestly, I try to approach every situation by just operating at a really high energy frequency. And that to me means really thinking about how I show up to a shoot or on a wedding day. So I think first, the biggest tip is to be thinking inwards. So focusing on how you can make yourself feel the best so that you can enter a situation to serve others. And I think in specifically in terms of weddings, and like I mentioned, it's high stakes, high stress usually, right? It's like, okay, we have to do this, we need to do this schedule has to be quite moving, very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a really important thing to note on a wedding day that you really have to channel that busy energy and kind of calm it down. So I think that starts, like I said, thinking inwards. So, as I'm sitting here like huddled up in the corner of my room, I realize that that's not helping my energy right now.
Oh, that's so interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. But thinking about like posture, first of all.
Yeah.
So you never want to enter a session or a wedding day like, hey, I'm the best thing since sliced bread, right? You really want to enter being like, okay, I want to get to know these humans and connect with them.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to enter with just, I think, being like authentically myself. And then I think, and I know this is really big for you, is affirmations.
Mm-hmm.
So really saying to yourself before you're going into a session, like, I'm operating on my highest energy frequency. I am a calming force. I am here to serve others. And this is meaningful for me, right? Like, I think
Yeah.
that's a big, big thing.
I love everything you just said so much. Like, it's so
Oh, good. Oh, good. Because I'm
true.
like, oh,
Oh no, yeah, like I mean, I still to this day, I mean, even like a couple days ago, I had a session and I was like, why am I so freaking nervous? Like I'm still nervous. And Lydia, you probably still get nervous, right?
yeah. Oh, yeah. All the time.
Yeah, and I have to literally like talk to myself and I'm like, you know what to do. Like as soon as you'll be in the situation, you'll know where the light is. You'll know how to make them feel comfortable in the moment and like and all of that. So I love everything that you're saying. Oh, and also, I've never heard anyone say this before where they talk about channeling the energy from a wedding day where it could be chaotic and stuff like that and kind of like transforming it within them to something more calm because I know that it could be easy for us to be affected by the stress of the day. Let's say the hour is running or the wedding is running like an hour late or half an hour late. It's easy for us as photographers to also take on that stress. But I think the experience that we want to create is be that like peaceful place to go to and be that peaceful like little island for people to retreat to in case they need it. So I love how you even said that of like channel the energy and transform it so you can kind of bring this calmness to a wedding day. So I love that so much. I'm wondering, actually, I have a question. So for someone who is maybe just starting out, like more or less starting out with weddings and sessions, is there any advice that you have on how they can, first of all, what affirmations they can tell themselves going into a session if they really don't believe that they do know what to do in the moment when they get there? And on top of that, how to transform that stressed out energy into something more peaceful within themselves?
Great questions. And I think, again, it's easy for photographers, and I mean, you have much more experience than I do, but we even said this before, we still get nervous, right? So I think practice always makes perfect, as you hear that all the time. But I think it's really about putting yourself aside, putting your business aside, and being very present and being in the moment. And yeah, leading back to that kind of calming force, we're also, as photographers, kind of the go-between for a lot of different things on a wedding day. So we've got, a wedding planner or a caterer asking us questions. So, and again, starting out, you might not necessarily know what to say or know the best thing to say, but I think you just have to trust yourself that what you're doing is the right decision. It's the best decision because it's what you're doing, right? So
Yeah.
not to second guess yourself. So I think in terms of affirmations, and again, this is hard to think about as you're starting out, but really just saying, like, I'm confident in who I am. This couple chose me for a reason.
Oh, I love that one. Yeah.
No one else could document this day like I could because I am myself.
Yeah.
Right. So no one will see what I see because I am myself. So I
Mm-hmm.
think it's really just, it's not comparing yourself to other photographers or other experience, but it's knowing in that moment to just say, okay, I'm making this decision and I'm trusting in my gut that I'm doing that's what's best for the couple, and then what's best for myself,
I love
and
that.
then
Yeah.
everybody else around me, right?
Yeah. And even a cool hack for like affirmations, if you want to become something, so let's say you feel like you're a caterpillar, not yet a butterfly, you can actually say, I am becoming confident, or like something like that,
Yes.
where it's like, then it's like, if I don't yet believe that I'm confident, I can at least believe that I'm like on my way to getting there, that I'm like one step closer. So I know that helps me a lot because we're always
Yeah, and
literally
even,
just growing towards confidence. I feel like constantly with everything new that we try.
of course, and that's kind of the, like, I kind of see it as before you're going to a wedding day or a session, it's like a pump up session, right? Like you're channeling everything inside of you to just be present and be there, right? So
Mhm.
maybe coming up to the wedding, you're like, I'm becoming confident in knowing light. I'm becoming
Mhm.
confident in connecting with people. But then when you're at the wedding and you're there in the moment, I think it's really important to be like, I am confident. I
Yes.
am the photographer. I do know what I'm doing, even though you might have moments of panic where you're like, should I have done this? I think it always comes back to, I'm doing what's right in the moment.
Yeah, I love that idea. Yeah, like on the way there, it's like a little pump up party. But then when you're there, it's like, no, I am that photographer right now. There's no other photographer here. I have no choice but to just be confident right now and just do it. And I think it does help when we are actually starting to shoot. We get in the flow because we know how important it is to be on in that moment. We don't have a second chance, that we just naturally actually somehow find this like superpower within us, and we do actually become that, which is really cool.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's just, again, the more you do it, the more you can practice it in the present moment. But it really is, it's pumping yourself up.
Yeah, I love that. Do you have anything else to add on tip number one with like thinking more inwards and like, yeah, cultivating that inward energy?
I think you asked about how to transform that chaos into calm. And
Oh, yeah.
I think it's always like outwardly being calm, right? So it doesn't matter what's happening, whether, like, I'm sure you've, and I've heard like the horror stories that some people have experienced, but like a burning hole in the wedding dress or something. But if you just focus on what's happening and just make sure that you're absorbing everybody's chaos, taking it inside of you, and then really like letting out calm. I think that's the biggest thing, because as soon as you start to show any panic, that's when
Yeah,
people around you can read that energy, right? And then
exactly.
they start to pick up on it, and then it's just this crazy what do you call those? Like little yeah.
Domino effect cycle.
Yes, that's the one. That's the one I'm looking for.
The da-da-da-das or domino.
The da-da-da-da-da. Yeah.
That's awesome. Actually, it's so true, because if they're looking to us as the professional, they're like, oh shit, if they're panicking, they've been to hundreds of weddings or whatever, like, then there's really something to be worried about. And it can create that like false story in their mind too. It's so funny. I mean, everyone has different ways of doing this. I kind of like imagine like a bubble around me where it's like impenetrable, where it's like whatever shit is going out on, like the stress or whatever, it's just like it doesn't even actually come through. It's like, I'm like, that's their reaction. They're dealing with that. I see the bigger picture. It's late, sure, but they're going to get married. We're going to get photos. They're going to have photos from the day. Like, it's all good. And that's kind of how I'm able to manage my own energy. Because especially those that are an empath, I think it's like, it's easy for us to like take on that energy. So it's kind of like maybe even like stopping it before it even comes to us. So I'm just like, I'm in a bubble. Nothing can faze me.
Absolutely. And everybody has like a different way of managing that. I feel like I want to be a sponge in a sense, and like absorb all that energy, and then somehow like, I'm doing this with my hands a lot, but it's like, cause I think I put something in like the Care Bear stare. That's how I think about it, which is my second tip, which is like directing outwards. Right. So I think it's this like really important thing to be creating this safe space. And that's calm, right?
I love that. Actually, the way that you explain how you take it and you absorb it, I feel like the way that you're explaining it is like, you want to take it to the next level energetically, of like, you want to actually take on people's energy, absorb it and transform it, so that when you bounce it back to them, it's a calm energy so that they feel transformed. Is that kind of like, that's so cool. I love that.
That's absolutely it. And again, like that, I think that takes a lot of practice, because it's a lot on you as a human, right? To have all that energy and absorb all that. So like, whenever I'm done a wedding or a session, it's time out for me, right? It's right? Like whatever that is for you to relax, like you're doing, like having a bath or watching a stupid television show that you don't have to connect with,
getting a foot massage from your partner.
Sure, well, that's fantastic. Sure, sign me up. Like, I don't get that. Although I do get like, random things handed to me from my partner. Like he'll give me like a glass of champagne or something.
Ooh, nice.
Or like I know, or like
champagne,
a random,
welcome home.
I know, it's fantastic. I won't complain about. But if I could have both, like the foot massages and the champagne.
Oh yeah.
I'm about that life.
That's awesome. And actually, before we move on to tip 2,
yes,
did you have an adage? No, that was like literally the perfect segue, except I have a note here that I definitely don't want to miss it. The adage that you had. Is that how you say the word? Adage or adage? Like, how do you say the word?
I think it's an old adage.
Okay, yeah.
And that is that your energy introduces you before you even speak.
I love
right?
That.
So again, just thinking about this, like going back to posture, right? So how you enter a room, that's how you start out, like that's setting the tone essentially with your, like the humans that you're about to connect with. And I just think it's so important to, again, remember walking into a room, I'm here for these people, not for myself.
Yeah, like a humble giving energy and like a natural curiosity for how can I best be there for them right now. I love that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Awesome. Attention, fellow wedding photographers and fellow wannabe wedding photographers. Tell me if this sounds like you. You're scared of missing key moments on wedding days. You feel pressured to create photos that are quote unquote Pinterest perfect and Instagram worthy. You're nervous about all the different lighting scenarios that are out of your control and you're not sure how to handle them. You're confused on how to balance creating beautiful imagery while also capturing authentic moments and emotion. And you're worried about being in people's way too often. If you're like, hells yeah, Sarah, you read my mind, then I'm here all excited and bushy tailed. Yes, I had to throw in the squirrel reference to let you know that I've created something for you that will help you become a confident wedding day storyteller in just 2 weeks. It's an online program that I created just for you called Intuitive Storytelling, and it's officially out and ready for enrollment. I want you to take a moment and imagine for a second what life would be like if you knew how to be at the right place at the right time on wedding days so you can catch those key and in between moments. You got emails back from your clients saying, you were the best freaking decision we made for our wedding. You also knew how to confidently create strong storytelling photos that people felt emotionally connected to. And you finally felt like an actual fly on the wall, aka people don't stare into your camera all day anymore. Well, it's all possible because I consistently experience these things myself. And now I want to help you make these possibilities become your reality. Are you all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed right now too? Again, had to throw in the squirrel reference, you know me. So listen up. You can get started on learning all my tips and tricks of how I document wedding days as soon as today. You can go to saramonika.com/storytelling for all the deets and instructions on how to grab your copy of the course. You'll have lifetime access and you can go at it at your own pace, along with a private community of other like-minded photographers that are on the same journey as you are. With intuitive storytelling, you'll be able to learn how to confidently storytell like a pro on wedding days in just 2 weeks. So, what are you waiting for? Up-level your storytelling game this wedding season so that next year you'll be watching your inbox filling up with even more inquiries. Hello, referrals from this year's clients. So again, head over to saramonika.com/storytelling and sign up now. I cannot wait to see you in there. Okay, well, that was a juicy first tip, and now I'm excited for the other two.
Yeah, I don't even know if we need to do 2 others
Right?
because that was just so extensive. No, I'm kidding. And I think they all play into each other as I see them written down, right? Like the second one, like I said, is like directing outwards. So once you've got that established posture and energy and affirmations that you're like, I'm here for this, it's then going into a room and like sharing that energy with people right before you even talk to them. So, and a lot of people say, like smiling to another human is, and I find that like, that's my most important thing ever is whenever I walk past anybody, even like on the street or whatever, I smile at them because it is your physical reaction to smile back. And like I don't know the science behind it, but there is science behind the fact that like smiling and increases your happiness, right? So I always make sure that it's like it's a transactional thing, right? I'm not just here to exist in the world, right? Like I'm here to connect with others.
I love that. Yeah. And you called it something so cute. The Care Bear?
Yeah, the Care Bear stare. I always say this, the Care Bear stare. So I always imagine when I'm at a session that like just, and I guess you would know is it the heart chakra?
Depending on what you're going to say. Yeah, possibly. Heart chakra for what?
Okay. But I mean like just thinking about like sending energy out through your heart.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So this like Care Bear stare, I know they have it on their belly. But like it's just like that's where I feel like your energy comes from is like from within. I feel that for me is like within my heart, right? So I want to project that outwards openly. Always.
Yeah. I love that so much. And people can feel that so much. Like we all, you know how like if we have like a bad intuitive feeling with a person, like, oh, I don't know if I should just like go walking. I just met them. I don't know if I'm going to go just walking down the street with them at night. Like that feeling or like that trusting feeling. It's like, that's the feeling we're cultivating. And especially on wedding days and even sessions, like people are inviting us into private, intimate moments of their life. And here we are, a stranger. And I think the fastest way for us to break through that initial, like, not knowing if we should trust, if they not knowing if they should trust us or not, is just genuinely, like, literally sending them love, like, from our heart, and being like, I genuinely care about your experience and your experience and your experience. Like, every person that is here right now, I genuinely care. And that's what just makes all the difference with, I think, people just breaking down their walls and letting us just do our thing. Right.
Totally. Absolutely. And I think, again, like a tip from that and how to keep that going is to practice it in everyday life, right? So as simple as a smiling to other people, it's like, I don't know, at the grocery store, I will always ask, like, hey, how was your day? Or like, oh, it's a busy day or something. Like, I'll interact with somebody because, again, it's like we're all here for a reason, right? And it means more to me to ask somebody about their day, and maybe I'm the only person in the lineup that asks them that, or like I even like in a Tim, I know, don't get mad at me, I drink Tim Hortons coffee, but
Oh, I don't care.
like going through I know, but a lot of people will be like, it's disgusting, Lydia,
Oh,
don't do it.
that's
But
funny.
even going through the drive-through, they'll be like, hey, what's your order? I'll be like, hey, how are you? Like, how's it going?
Yeah.
And then I find like Starbucks does stuff like that. They make I don't know if they
Yeah.
make their employees, but I find that every
It's part of
time
the
you go
culture.
through
Yeah.
it, right? It's like, ask people about their day, care about others. That's the only way that we're going to make this world a better place. That, like, not in the cheesy way, but in a
Yeah.
like, I can sleep at night because I don't have bad energy around me?
I love that so much. And it's so true. Like, the way that we show up in life is like the way we can practice of how we can show up more confidently around people. I love that so much. I mean, I love your even idea of like practicing when you're out for a walk and saying hi to a stranger. Like, I genuinely, I get really like awkward sometimes because I'm an introvert. So it's like I'm trying to find the right balance because I love just like my own peaceful walks where I don't have to talk to anyone. I could just like re-energize myself with nature. But then if a person's like, passing by, I'm like, okay, I'm a little nervous to say hi, but I'm like, no, Sara, you're nervous. Like, you need to break through this nervousness. And what's the worst that can happen? So I'm like, what I do is I just like wave and smile and go a little hi. And then they're like,
Yeah,
either
right?
they get so caught off guard and they get awkward and they don't even say
Exactly.
anything because that's their own thing. Or most of the time, 90% of the time, it's like a smile back. They say hi. And literally, it's this magical thing, right? This magical energy where I'm just like, I feel so like connected right now with the rest of the world. And it was just such a nice experience compared to if we just passed by and didn't say hi. It's such an
Exactly.
opposite experience.
Like, we're in this world together. Why would we walk past the street and not even just smile, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't know why there's this constant, like, don't look at each other, eyes to the ground, right? To me, it's so important. And that's like that Care Bear stare is just like, hey, how are you? Have a good day, and
Yeah.
not in an annoying, in your face way, but is as a gentle, you know,
I love that so much.
you're awesome,
I'm
right?
never going to think about Care Bears the same way ever again.
Yeah, you're welcome.
That's awesome. And what is your tip number 3?
So tip number 3 is syncing up or matching energy. So again, we talk about being an introvert or an extrovert, and I'm sure people can tell by either meeting me or hearing about me that I'm a big ball of energy, right? Which is why we're having a discussion about energy.
Mhm.
But I feel that it's really important to be very aware of what other people are putting out as energy too. So, for example, I don't want to go into a room being really loud and like, hey, let's do this and get this shot and do this here, when it's a very peaceful, calm moment. Like, let's say they want to do a prayer or something like that, right? Like, there's always that understanding and matching people's energy, because not everybody emits energy the same way, or sorry, not gives it and receives it in the same way. So
Yeah.
I think it's really just like if it's a soft moment with a couple, not being that like annoying, obnoxious, loud photographer, but right, just taking yourself down a level and calming yourself and taking a deep breath, right?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. What you just said is, I think, so important to note, like very, very important. And I think very helpful to a lot of photographers to remember. Personally, for me, I find it so easy for me to have goofy, high energy. And this could be totally opposite for someone else. Someone else that could be like the hardest thing for them, right? But like one thing that I'm working on right now is, for me, it's so easy to be goofy, loud, like party atmosphere, like joking around, right? But when it comes time to like those quiet, intimate moments, and I'm talking more about like if there's a quiet, intimate moment, like you said, of maybe everyone praying in the room before they're about to get married, like that's cool. Like I'm very comfortable with that. I stay quiet. There's nothing for me to say. I'm just documenting it. It's, that's easy. But if I'm alone with a couple and the energy gets toned down a little bit, it's more intimate and they're like kissing in a very soft, slow way, I get uncomfortable because I feel like I'm like intruding on like a private, intimate moment. And I'm still like navigating because I noticed years ago that I would like make a joke in that moment. And I'm just like, oh, Sarah, you got to stop that. Like you're making it about you and you're taking it away from like getting something a little more intimate. So me personally, I'm working on that part of me where I can take that energy to a calmer level and like give them that intimate energy if they are a couple that shows love in that way or wants their photos documented in that way. So that's something that I'm working on. So actually, I would love to know, Lydia, do you find that you have like a certain energy that you're most comfortable in and another one that you're not? Or do you feel like you've kind of mastered all different energy levels with couples?
That is, I feel like I know the answer to that question, but I bet you some people might say it might be a little bit different. So I would definitely say I'm a high energy human. But I think that I thrive in situations where I'm just completely outside of my comfort zone. Like I feel like that's when I am my most honest self, is when I'm in a room where I don't know anybody and the onus is on me to create a space where people feel comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would definitely say that that is something that I've really, really worked towards, is to create a space for people to feel that way. But again, you're mentioning these moments, like these more intimate moments with couples, and that's hard for me too, because I am a kind of funny, jokey person.
Mm-hmm.
So I would definitely say that's something that I really want to work on. And I think when I see images by artists who, that's their focus, is to
Yeah.
like, right, is to be with couples in more intimate settings, like my hat is off to them in that space, because like, yes, I'd love to be thrown into something where nobody knows me and I have to make friends with everybody, but throw me into a situation where it's that like kind of more one-on-one, or I guess I'm the third wheel in it,
Yeah.
right? It's like
Yeah.
it does take a lot to take a step back, right? So,
Yeah.
and that's like, those artists are phenomenal at what they do.
Yeah, it's so, and to me, it's actually interesting. Because I'm someone that just constantly questions everything because I don't just do things just because. So I'm wondering, like, is that okay that I'm not maybe meant to photograph more like intimate, calm moments? Maybe I am meant for couples that are just more energetic and bubbly and crazy and goofy. And then the artists that, are maybe more of like their energy where they feel most at home is that like calm, intimate, like soft energy. Are they meant for couples that are like that? or am I meant to give my clients that variety experience? So this is what I'm like trying to figure out. And I mean, I of course, like through my questionnaires for my couples, I get to know, I'm like, oh, do you want intimate, like more emotional photographs? Like I give them like a little checklist, like, yeah, we want goofy, we want artsy, we want emotional. So like if they have emotional set in there, I'm like, okay, what prompt am I going to kind of have in mind? What music am I going to have ready? So like I make sure to like deliver on that as best as I can. But I'm also, so like whenever my couples that are even goofy want that, I do that. But I find that it's like this interesting like intersection of like do I mainly specialize in more energetic couples than intimate? It's like this whole, do you have that kind of like feeling too sometimes?
Oh, totally. Always questioning that in myself. Is it what I'm putting out, or is it how I'm interacting with couples, or what is it, right? But honestly, I think at the end of the day, it's that and actually Magic, the wedding photographer, when I was at, sorry, this is a random side note, but I remember that he put up a slide when I was at a workshop in Oregon. And there were dots everywhere, all different colored dots and sizes of dots. And there were hundreds of them clumped together in different spots and everywhere. And he's like, what is this? Can somebody tell me what this is? I'm like, no, one person said, oh, it's your clients. And I said, and he's like, yes, that's exactly what it is. So there are dots out there that are for you, specifically for Sara, right? And there's dots out there that are for Lydia. And there's dots that are out there for Magic, right? So I just feel like you attract what you get as well, but in the same sense, like maybe we weren't meant to find them. Well, not in that sense, but maybe that's who we attract, is the more like goofy, fun side of people who don't know that they maybe want more intimate photos, and that we can help guide them into that and learn together. Right.
Yeah, that's a really great point. And I think something that even makes me think about all of this is like, I know that Rory and I were the kind of couple that loves to goof off and like not take shit seriously and have that high energy. But of course, just like any couple, we have those intimate moments. And I kind of took a step back and I asked myself, like, would I value having more like calm, intimate, romantic photos with him? And I'm like, yeah, I would. So if I'm like, okay, I would want those free-spirited, crazy, goofy photos on our wedding day, but I would also want a small portion, like maybe like a handful of portraits of something deeper or meaningful. Then I'm like, oh, maybe my goofy couples do still want that. And now on my next step on my journey is like growing as a photographer, I need to figure out how to do that. So
Totally.
yeah, and this conversation with you is helping me like realize some things, which is really helpful. And yeah, actually, I would love to know, I would love to just give everyone like a visual of, you showing up on a session, for example. So you're showing up on a session, and I'll have you choose, like, is the scenario that it's at their home or is it outside? Because it's based on, do you mostly do outdoor sessions?
I love shooting in natural light outside.
Perfect.
And any chance I can get to bring a couple outside, I jump for it. But then I also do love like growing with couples and getting to know them a little bit more in their home setting. So I'll lean more towards the outdoors session. So that's where we'll go.
Sounds perfect. Awesome. Yeah. So just maybe take us through a little bit of like the beginning, like you've just arrived, it's like probably the most nerve-wracking moment for both you and them. And so like maybe take us through like an example of how you would go about that situation in the beginning.
Absolutely. Okay. So I did a session last night. So I'm going to completely use that as my example. So I show up to a session. I've chosen the spot for the couple. So I'm familiar with the space, but not specifically where we're going. So I'm leaving that open to fate. But I know the general area. My couple has texted me and they've let me know what car they're driving. So I always, So for example, I made a joke about their truck or something like that, right? So breaking the ice was something funny because that's who I am. And then talking about how excited I am about the session.
Yeah.
And depending what you know beforehand with the couple, like this couple was somebody I didn't know at all beforehand. So it was like a first date in a sense
Yeah.
with them. So it's asking all those questions like, where are you from? What do you do? Those cute things. But then kind of letting them guide it, right? And seeing how they want to talk and how they want to talk about themselves. And then getting like kind of just following those little crumbs that they leave and asking more questions about little things and finding out what means something to them.
Yeah. Yeah. So syncing up
And
that
how to
energy.
connect. Yeah. And how to
Yeah.
connect with them and what do we have in common or what do we not have in common? I definitely told them my tick story.
Oh,
So that
yeah.
was a great icebreaker.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm actually wondering, so um throughout the session, right? When you're like walking around the woods, having that small talk and connecting with them and all of that, but then you're just like, but I need to pause to like actually take it in and see how I can get creative here. Like, because
Totally.
sometimes, well, like with my couples, I tell them at the beginning of the session, I'm like, oh, pause. I see like the first spot that we're going to hang out in. And then I say, oh, by the way, we're going to be talking a lot throughout the session. And if I see something that inspires me, I'm straight up just going to cut us off and say pause because otherwise my brain won't be able to be creative. So is that something that you do as well? To like keep the energy up where it's like conversation connection, but then you also have to stay creative in your creative space.
That is so hard, right? Like
Yeah.
that is a really tricky part of, so it's like trying to make them feel comfortable, but then also understanding where you are, how to get the best photo, where to put them, that kind of stuff, while maintaining that conversation
It's
and keeping
insane.
that energy level. It's a weird multitasking that your brain, I've trained my brain to do because I've just done it so much, I
Yeah.
think. And again, it's putting yourself in situations where you feel uncomfortable
Yeah.
and then seeing what you do, right? And that's really how you do it, because if you're always going to sit in your comfort zone, and again, we hear this all the time, is that you're never going to become a better person, right? So how do I take myself completely out of what I want to do and create art,
Mm-hmm.
is to be constantly multitasking and challenging myself. But yeah, I'll stop mid session, or even like last night we're leaving and I see the sun coming down. I'm like, "Okay, I'm sorry, you guys have to stop talking. I'm going to put my bag down and I need you to cuddle up and just get romantic,
Yeah.
like please, so and then
Please, I beg
I
of
think
you. Yeah.
I beg of you, the sun. And I think for me, it's the connection with the sun and with nature, right? Like if I see
Yeah.
something beautiful, I want them to know and feel it. Like, can you feel the sun on your face? Like, can you
Yeah.
feel that? Like I can see it and I am loving it, but can you feel it? Like,
Yeah. And I find that so fascinating because, like, I think as soon as we get so excited about this is why it's so important for us to be very aligned with the type of work that we do as photographers. Like, like, for example, if you hated shooting indoor at home sessions, like, don't do it because you won't bring the energy. Because, like Lydia just said, you just saw something so beautiful in nature because you're so passionate about it that it naturally gave you this like boost of energy where you're like, oh my God, stop. This is so beautiful. Guys, this photo is going to be epic. Like, let's do this right now. And then they get excited and they go like full force into trusting whatever you tell them to do. And it's this beautiful like collaboration. And I love that this energy starts happening usually like halfway through to the end, right, of a session.
yes, always,
Yeah,
that's when it starts to pick up. It's like a first date, right?
it is. Yeah. Yeah.
A good
And
first date, though. A
yeah.
good first date.
Exactly. Yeah. So if anyone is listening and you're worried that maybe sometimes the first half of your session or the first quarter of your session is a little awkward, like just know that that's pretty much normal. It still happens to me. Sometimes, I mean, I have extroverted couples that right off the bat, it's totally like fun and easy and super like not awkward at all, but other times it takes half the amount of time, half the session time. So just know that that's okay and you're not doing anything like wrong. Like obviously there's always room to improve on how we like communicate, and maybe if we're playing music, maybe that helps the energy, but just know that it happens to us too, right?
Totally. Oh yeah. Oh gosh, yeah. It absolutely does, and it never gets easier, right? But you understand how to just deal with different energies, right? Like you just understand how somebody speaks to you in a, in a higher energy frequency. You need to be there and be exciting and be with them. But
Yeah.
if they're a calm, introverted couple, then, your ridiculous tick stories might not fly.
Yeah, you
Or
just have
or
to be
even
okay with the
naming your tick
quiet,
might not
naming
be
your
cool,
tick. Yeah. Yeah, and then we just have to be get comfortable with the quiet as
Yes,
yeah, that's for me, that's what I have to work on, which is
same
yeah.
here.
Yeah.
I again have to, and I think that's a trust thing with your couple, right? That's letting them know that you do need a little bit of creative space
Yeah.
to have a moment, and like, I need 10 minutes during a photo session that I just need you guys to be with your with each other, and I'm going to be kind of just circling like a hawk.
Yeah, I love that. Do you ever do that? Like pause and be like, okay, I for the next 5 minutes, I just want to figure out the lighting, get some ideas. You two can just hang out, have a little break. Do you ever have them do that? Because I think I keep forgetting to do that. I keep saying I'm going to do it on the next session just to like have 5 minutes each of us, like a little break. But I never do it because I always think in my head, like, are they going to think that I don't know what I'm doing, or are they going to be like, is it going to create this awkward space? But I've heard other photographers do this, and I've heard that couples actually appreciate that little like reconnection in the middle of the session, being like, so how are you feeling? Are you liking it? Like, so do you do that with your couple sometimes?
Yeah, so I'm just writing this down because two things that I definitely do, and I've learned these from other photographers, is that starting out your session by getting your couples to walk and explore the space. I mean,
Hmm.
again, you can't really do this if you're in an in-home session.
Yeah, yeah.
But let's say we're at a couple session or at our portrait session the couple session in the evening for a wedding. You kind of want to let them get their distance from you,
Yeah.
so that and not because you want to be distanced from them,
Yeah.
but because you need that little moment. So you're like, okay, how am I going to now navigate the next, if it's at a wedding day, 15 to 20 minutes? If it's at a session, how am I going to navigate the next hour? Right. So
Hmm.
I have this, 5 to 10 minutes at the beginning of a session. I'm still talking to my couple. So I'm still from far away if I can, keep walking or walk this way, or could you move a little bit this way?
Yeah.
But still just thinking, okay, this is my moment to give that distance. Right.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that I do, and I do this with pretty much all my couples, is I'll get them to let their foreheads touch and close their eyes and take a deep breath in together and exhale. And I'll usually breathe with them when they do
Nice.
that. And sometimes I'll forget to tell them to exhale because I'm exhaling. And it's only ever become a hilarious, weird encounter when they forgot to exhale and then they were both like sputtering in each other's faces. So, but that's my moment, is like, and I do that in the middle. I try to do that in the middle of a session because I only think that you can do that when you've built a level of comfort. Because
Yeah.
like, you don't want to be like automatically be like, smash your foreheads together. That's not good. And someone will get hurt. So it's
Somebody
best
gonna
if
get hurt
it's
real bad.
real bad. So it's best if, it's like a gentle touch foreheads nicely and close eyes, because you don't want to be that close and staring into each other's eyeballs.
Cyclops.
Some people get freaked out. So yeah, deep breath in and exhale together.
I love
And
that.
I'll do it a couple times. If they're feeling it, I'll do it a couple times. If they're like, Lydia, you're out to lunch here, I'll be like, well, that didn't work for you, so let's move right on.
Yeah.
But most times it is. Most times I can get to that point where I just allow them to close their eyes and breathe.
Yeah. And it's a good reset, especially like maybe if you're halfway through, a good reset of energy. And maybe even if you want to create that variety in a session of like, okay, the first part is more like happy, bubbly energy because they don't want to really let their guard down yet. And then halfway through, you could do like that breath reset and then switch the music over to something a little bit more like calmer, softer. The sun is setting, it's becoming golden, it's becoming this magical, intimate energy that you can kind of shift into. I love that.
Get me to that session. That sounds so good. I want to be there right now. Oh,
it reminds me of a session I did like 2 or 3 weeks ago. I was actually really proud because I got some like intimate feeling moments and I was like, Sara, good job, pat on the back. So yeah, like I love everything you said. It's so smart. Just like giving them the space in the beginning for yourself and them, and then slowly getting more intimate as the session goes on. That's awesome.
Well, yeah. And I learned that through osmosis, right? I figured that out through someone else. So it's definitely just like what you learn as you go through the biz and how to take a second to just step back, focus, move forward, right?
Yeah. Focus.
I should be doing like Tai Chi. I'm such a like energy shifter here.
If you guys saw her on video, she's like moving her arms so amazingly, like literally Tai Chi wise.
Yes. I feel like I'm just pushing out, sending in, it's a real switch. It's good.
That's awesome. Well, I feel like that was incredible. We covered so much more than I even expected. I love where our conversation went. Is there anything else that's on your heart, on your mind that you feel like you want to share, or do you feel complete? I always ask this.
Great question. I feel more than complete about this. I don't think I've ever had a space to be able to talk about who I am, what I do, and how I operate. And so I'm extremely grateful to you for providing that like safe space for me to do that. And I hope that people can hear this and want to just put a tiny little bit of that into their own work and just be more present, not only in their work for their couples, but more present in their world. And like you said before, like showing up. I think that's the biggest thing that we can do is just show up for other people. And if it's that little thing, just smiling at somebody when you walk past them, just try it out. See what happens.
I love that.
You might love it. You might do it all the time.
Yeah, it's so true. And I'm so grateful for you for sharing all of this. I think literally my listeners are going to eat this up with like a spoon and be taking notes at the same time. So it was all so valuable.
Well, get a fork and a knife and just guzzle it right up, guys. Man, awesome. Thank you so much.
Of course. And where can everybody find you, Lydia?
Well, you can send up a smoke signal and that's the best way to find me. No, honestly, Instagram is probably one of the biggest places for me to connect with others. So that's Lydia Ivy Photography with a little @ sign before it. And you can tune in and find out about my tick saga.
That's awesome. You're just as much of a nerd as I am. I love it.
And we'll go out exploring one day.
Yeah. And can you spell out your Instagram handle? Because I know Lydia could be spelled different ways,
correct.
Blah, blah, blah.
You're absolutely correct. So it's Lydia Ivy Photography. So that's at LYDIA IVY Photography. Or should I spell out photography?
No.
Okay. She screwed it up.
No, you know what I was going to say? I was going to laugh because you were spelling it out. And then you said Lydia, like LYDIA. And then you said IVE. And it sounded like Ivy. Like you spelling out Ivy sounds like Ivy. Which I was like, is like, does another word have weird. That in the English language? That's
you know what? I haven't spelt it out yet. And now I'm questioning all my life choices.
You're boggled.
More boggled than the blimp.
More boggled than the blimp. Oh my God, it's amazing. Anyway, thank you so much. And
thank you.
We're
Virtual
out.
Hug. Tai Chi.
Bye.
Bye.
Yay! Thank you so much for hanging out with me and tuning into this episode. If you got value out of it, please feel free to message me on Instagram at Sara Monika Photo. That's Sara no H, Monika with a K photo, to let me know. I get so freaking energized hearing from others that what I've said has had a positive impact on their lives. Also, make sure to hit subscribe to the Shine and Thrive podcast to never miss an episode. I'm so grateful for you, and I'm sending you all the productive vibes your way so you have the best week ever.